Welcome to the Wellness Amazon podcast. This is a podcast for highly sensitive people, people that have high intuition and are just in tune with themselves and the outer world. Come and listen to multiple different high spectrum subjects and just peek behind the curtain. But I warn you, once you peek behind the curtain, you can never go back. Have fun. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of the Wellness Amazon podcast. A little bit of problems this morning. And this is part 2 of our episode of HSPs and feminine energy. If you have not listened to part 1, highly recommend you do that, but you do not have to. Part 2 is probably going to be informative as well with my wonderful sidekick, Annika from Tennessee, who I will link her Etsy site once again in the show notes because she is the creator of beautiful printables with natal charts, crystals, herbs, and she does natal charts for you, personalized. So go find her. And she is also a holistic health coach. So welcome, Annika. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me again.
Anytime. Yes. So last episode we covered, I think it felt like 2 million subjects about feminine energy and the yin and the yang and how this shows up and all of these things. And today we're going to talk about scenarios, balance, because I know you as a Libra, you like to talk about balance and you're the master in that. And it's so important. It's such a big word, balance, and how we need that in our lives and how we cannot just be one thing all the time. In the last episode, we did talk a little bit about ancestral trauma and how the collective sometimes can be very hard on women and female energy. And today we're looking more at how we can utilize both sides and give some practical tips as well on how to maybe awaken that feminine side a little bit more if you so desire. So, Annika, big question in the beginning to kick us off. What is feminine energy? What represents feminine energy?
Yeah, so the first things that come to mind is intuition, empathy, nurturing, being connected to nature, and also knowing when to rest, knowing cycles, being in tune with your cycle as a woman. Those are the first things that come to mind of like a healthy female balance, like loving to nurture, like I said, being intuitive, listening to your heart, and just having those energies, helping others, helping yourself.
Yeah.
So, but there's also I made a little bit of a list because it's so much to cover. No matter who you are, like you always want to balance out. We all have female and male energies, and they need to be balanced out as well. So, for example, signs of, also for women, for the female, good energy is emotional depth and receptivity, which is intuition as well, right? Like just being receptive of things. And I also listed the things, how does it show when you have too much of female energy and you are out of balance. Then you can be overly emotional, or like excessive passivity. Is it right to say it like that? Yeah. So just not like being too dependent. Of course, there's like a female energy is also to be a little bit of sometimes in a submissive state, which is amazing, like to hone in onto that and to have a partner that is the protector, that has that male energy. But also on the other side, you cannot be too dependent and like a little dog, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over nurturing is a thing as well. So if you always nurture everybody but yourself, not good. Like you have to nurture yourself as well. You have to take care of yourself. Um, and also what shows up in females that live too much in female is being manipulative,
Hmm.
like playing with being overly emotional and using this to manipulate people, which we see a lot in narcissists and things like that. And being not connected to your creative energy, to just not have any interest in being creative at all. Like that is a sign that. And I have so many other signs and symptoms of what female or male imbalance that we can talk later, but those are the first things. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I don't forget anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that those are also sometimes some of those things you were talking about reminded me of, yeah, sometimes society kills those things kind of, because I know last time we talked about burnout a little bit, and when someone is trying to do all of these things, I feel like in our society that the yin part, because it is so the surrender and so soft, is easier to bury down and to shove down than maybe the young part. So I feel like, creating, oh, I don't have time for that, right? Because I have these other things, or being manipulative, or cattiness,
Yeah.
especially with other women, that shows up where this shows up out of shame and fear, because I have to be on top. I have to be better than you, or I have to be superior, which is that more of that young that gets but pushed onto you. It's not necessarily that you choose that, but it's just like, I don't know, you kind of get pushed into that role, and then those side effects come out,
Yeah.
um, which is so sad. And it I don't know, chicken and the egg, what has been here first, that you are letting your creativity die because you don't have time for it, and then the other stuff shows up as just another, like you said, manipulation and being overly going into that yang energy, or is it the other way around? So it's sometimes it's hard to pinpoint.
Yes. Yes. Also, how does self-worth play a role, right? In all of us, kind of like the more self-worth you have and like love yourself, it's so important to love yourself. Um, then also that can then have that ripple effect of having those imbalances. So yeah, and
Yeah.
also what people surround you, as a woman or a male, but because the topic is female, what type of masculine energy is around you? Is
Hmm.
this like healthy or is it unhealthy? Because that can balance you out as well. And it can show up, which we can talk about as well, about physical symptoms, emotional symptoms. Yeah, so I think a lot of people, I mean, of course, there's things that have metabolic reasons and all of those things, right? Especially with hormonal imbalances and so on. Also, that topic that we're talking about, if you don't have your balance, which I mean, I wish there would be like a better word to not always have to use balance because it's so overused. But it is just what it is. That can, I mean, manifest so many things that most people think, oh, I need to just take this pill for that or this pill for that
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
fix that, right? A pill for an ill. And it sometimes can just be so easy to just have the awareness of, okay, do I really live the energies in balance, that I, as a human being, like it's like a primal force, right? Like that I wanna live. So
Yeah.
yeah, and if you don't mind to go over the male stuff as well, real quick, like the good male, a healthy male representation, right, of the male energies are like assertiveness, logic, action oriented, protectiveness, and structure.
Hmm.
Whereas if a male is out of balance or like too much in like male energy, it can show up in aggressiveness, which we all know, right? And that's also like a picture of that's how males are being painted very often, this aggressiveness and all that, which that's the toxic, like that's the toxic side, just as there is a toxic female side of manipulation and all those things, or
Right.
drama queens, right? Then the other things are workaholic, like the extreme of just,
Yeah.
you know, I only do this, and I can't go into an emotional side or be there for my family, for my wife, for my kids, like too much. So it's so interesting how, the healthy version is structure, the protective side, but that doesn't mean you have to go overboard, right? Like there needs to be this softness as well of, yeah, I'm there for you, but I don't control you,
Yeah.
which like the control and like being like restless, reckless, and all that. That's what we don't want to have. So if you have someone, as a woman, if you have someone by your side that represents the healthy energies of like a healthy male or whatever, like it can apply to everybody, of to every scenario, right? um Chances are really high that it would be very easy for you to hone in to the healthy female, um
Hmm.
right? Like it would be really hard to live in a healthy state if your partner or people that surround you have those imbalanced behaviors too much.
Yeah. Because I think whatever is missing in one, the other probably will have to pick up if we're talking about a partnership, right? Even if it could be a roommate or a friendship if you're single, it's the people around you. I think humans are really inclined to fill the void of what is not there, and that it's not necessarily what you want or where you feel home in, but you then are forced to have to pick that up. Um, and I find it very interesting the things you were talking about, the female energy part, because yes, it's the stigma is always when we hear female, oh yeah, well, dresses and long hair and red lips and all, right? That stuff. It's like, no, it is. That's just looking at like 2D. That's just looking at a picture, maybe
Yeah.
like something. But when you see someone in real life, the way they can show up, to me, the most female women that I have met in my life, they always have one thing in common. They're always very confident. They're confident, not cocky, but they're confident and they rest in themselves. They are just sure of themselves. They are at peace.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the right word. They're at
Yeah.
peace with themselves and they radiate that. And that's why, yes, they are confident, but when they interact with other people, it's with this amazing, strong softness, I want to say,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
it's not a weakness, right? They're soft, but they're still very confident and just assured in themselves and in what they do. They're all usually they create something, and when people hear creating, like you do not need to be an artist. Cooking, you're creating something, or gardening, or whatever. They all like to utilize their energy to either make something or make something better, right? And that's what I also think is, and self-worth, that's self-love. I think female energy cannot really exist in its entirety and its fulfillment when you don't love yourself. But that's the same with the male energy. I think the lack of self-love can really screw up with that balance, what you were talking about in itself, where because what is the Schumann's scale, right? The lowest one. What was that? Or not Schumann's. The lowest
David
resonance.
Hawkins.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I
What?
think the lowest was apathy and also shame.
Hmm. And fear, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So those three, I think, are also the reason for all the other negative emotions that we have. They're like the core negative emotions. And when someone doesn't have self-love or self-worth, it usually comes from shame, fear, guilt, those things. So I think those are the killers of that balance that you were talking about. And I think we can use the word balance absolutely, because it's that yin and yang symbiosis that we just all in our depth of our core strive for in our life. Um,
Yes.
so absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, it's completely normal. Nobody is perfect, nor should they be. I mean, how boring would the world be if everyone is so perfect all the time and all that, right? Like it's great to hop in and out and different, you go through life and you go through different lessons, and there might be times where you're stuck in that one pattern, and then you learn about it. I think having awareness about that already is half the rent, so to say. I mean, can we say that in English, because it's the saying like in German?
I don't think so. I don't, but yeah, I think we have a similar saying in English, but I
Yeah,
know what you mean. I know
yeah.
what you mean.
So yeah, it's just so important to acknowledge that it's not about being perfect. It's just about really feeling good in your body, with yourself, on an emotional level, whatever. Like that is what it's all about. But if you sometimes feel like, hey, I want to, right now outlive this, then there might be a reason for it. Or like look at it, why, like look at the whys. um so I think just having that awareness is really key.
Yeah. And like you said, nothing is off limits. If you are usually very feminine in your flow and tomorrow you have the absolute urge to fix the car,
Totally, yeah.
or go hunting. It's just we all want to venture in these things every once in a while. Um, I know men that crochet and they're fantastic in it, you
Yeah.
know. It's just fabulous. Um, it's not, there's no stigma on it, right? It's just what you feel home and what you do out of I think a voluntary state is different than when you're being pushed into it, which is that, yes, we're all very flowy. We can go from one into the other probably easily, depending on what situation it is. But sometimes it's a necessity. You have to. Like when you're a single parent, probably got to be both, right? Or when your partner isn't there, or you're by yourself and you have to do these things, or you have to do a job that you absolutely hate, which, by the way, that is like the worst in Taoism. That is the worst thing you can probably do, because it kills your jing. Your jing is your core life force, all the energy that you have. Doing things you don't want to do or you're loath doing over and over and over again kills the jing, and therefore nothing is in balance anymore. And that coming from someone who and I know you can speak to that
Oh
too,
yeah. Oh yeah.
suffered from burnout and was in that necessity state where I was being pushed in that very unhealthy young role, that toxic, aggressive, that's not me at all role, where I could not even identify with anymore. Um, that is the killer of Jing, and that will manifest in your body,
Absolutely.
which is why burnout manifests in the body, and then it's already too late. And that will cause an amazing imbalance and really harm you.
Oh yeah. I mean, we can talk about the symptoms. And I, like you said, like I had this experience as well with, working a job that just didn't fulfill me, that completely drained me out, especially my empathetic side. um, and luckily I had a healthy male by my like by my side that said, this stops right now, please, like, don't do this to yourself, and we're gonna find another way that makes you happy, like that makes you happy. So very grateful for that. But if I would have never experienced that as well, like I wouldn't know, right, how that feels like. So maybe that was kind of part of the plan. So but yeah, so female imbalances, we have physical symptoms, we have emotional symptoms, and behavioral symptoms. So physical, just like you said, burnout, chronic fatigue, which
Yeah.
also, right, burnout, sleep issues. We have hormonal imbalances like irregular periods, PMS, tensions in lower abdomen, like the sacral chakra, can be very affected by that, because when you suppress emotions, right, you have to do this every day, and you suppress those emotions and your creative energy, where you just have to give power, power, power,
Mm-hmm.
um, that can manifest in that area. And emotional, like being overwhelmed, um, crying without having reasons to cry, excessive crying, which also then with the hormonal imbalance, that kind of,
Mm-hmm.
right, mood swings, feeling uninspired, um, fear of making decisions alone, like not being able to knowing exactly what you want, like again, if the intuition is missing,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do, what am I gonna do, and you don't have the answers, you're not connected to yourself. And behavioral, we already talked about, like over nurturing, um, hesitation to stand up for yourself, that is a big one. So, and then again, manipulation. So, yeah, those are all signs and or symptoms
Mm-hmm.
of how to know that you're probably very, very out of balance.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
The last point you had, standing up for yourself, that hesitancy to stand up for yourself. What a big subject, especially for, I think, like, highly sensitive females, I want to say. So HSP and female, and then now they overlap. Um, Boundaries are very, very hard for us. And I say us because this is what I identify as, is um, even though it can be such maybe more like a young thing, you need to do that in your female power as well. That's something that's in your female power, to have boundaries and protect that softness and that creativity and all of the other things that you were talking about that are essential for that. And I think that's one of the hardest things for especially highly sensitive females to do, because we're so in tune on how we make the other person feel. And
yeah,
most of the time, boundaries have something to do with other people. And then we feel guilty and we don't want to rock the boat and all of these things. But the price that you pay for not having boundaries is much, 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 much greater than maybe having somebody butthurt for 24 hours.
yes, absolutely. Like just like you said, know your boundaries. And it's not about, this one moment. It's about longevity. It's about, yeah, how sustainable is it, right? Like if there's situations where someone needs more nurturing, and you put yourself a little bit, aside, and you take care of your family, of course, right, like every one of us would do that. But then there needs, in general, like day-to-day life, it should be like you prioritize yourself as well, and the others, and like know your boundaries, and you can say no. um, Very important. If you don't want to do something, just, and you don't have to be, rude about it. You can just, yeah, like maybe we can go over that. How, especially as an HSP, and a female, like how do you set those boundaries, stand your ground. Like, how do you say no? It's so hard. It's hard for me as well because I want to always be there and nurture and be empathetic, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's a tough one for sure. But I mean, for the biggest thing is just open communication.
Yeah.
Before things happen, like sit down with your family, with your partner, and like go over what are no-goes for you, what are things that are uncomfortable for you that you just don't want to do, and have like a plan. I remember you talked about it with your husband as well in the one episode,
Mm-hmm.
that you guys have that as well, and
Yeah.
that's so important, especially for highly sensitive people,
Yeah.
because you also want to have someone that has your back, because it's hard for us to, because we feel sometimes, I mean, that's at least how I feel sometimes, like, oh, I'm Mrs. Sensitive, I don't want to be Mrs. Sensitive, like I'm afraid to speak out.
Mm-hmm.
um but then I have to remind myself, no, like this is totally fine, and I talk with my partner about it, and he is very understanding, and he's like, yeah, no problem. And then it makes me feel really, really good to just not be alone with that. I think that's the key thing, like to not feel alone with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't feel guilty or weird about it anymore to give a little bit of an explanation on why I have that boundary, and that makes it better for me, and it makes it better for them, and it makes it that's that might not be everybody's cup of tea to do that, but for me, I have come to now the point, and this is practicing boundaries a lot over time. Now I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because if I do that, it's going to be very exhausting for me and I'd rather not do that. And it's sometimes if it's somebody who doesn't, like my husband, he doesn't need an explanation anymore, but somebody who is more of like a friend or an acquaintance, they might need a little bit of more context. So I will tell them, hey, listen, I have social anxiety, or I don't like crowds, or something like this. And they're like, oh, okay, no problem. Do you want to go somewhere else? It has never been an issue. And I'm telling you right now, if it's somebody who has an issue, I immediately know, not friend. Okay. It's just clean as that. I have a smaller circle and I really do not that I don't care, but I don't strive for that big circle anymore and please everybody. I'm past this. It's just I now have seen the other side and how awesome the other side is when you hold up these boundaries. I'm not willing anymore to give those up. Um, if you're new to this, I think how I started small was things like not an immediate no, but something like, can I think about it? Can I come back to you? Because I know for a lot of people to be confronted right in the moment can be very hard, and they're more prone to say yes because they just in the moment it's so hard to say no and it takes so much courage. But to get somebody a rain check and say, can I think about this? Can I decide later? Let me get back to you on that. I don't know right now, or I have to check my calendar, or I don't know, something, right? It will give you more time to muster up that courage and to come up with a substitute solution, maybe like a compromise you can come into. So that's like my favorite thing, to just, buy time or start small. And if it's really something you absolutely like, the neck hair is standing up and you're like, I don't want to do this. This sounds awful. It's a no. Really is a no. I have s- I have learned in some of those courses that I took, if it's not a F yes or a heck no. Those are the two options you have. And if it's not a F yes, it's automatically a heck no. Like, those in between things. And if you can't make that decision in the moment, again, buy yourself some time to decide, well, which of the two is it? It's not it's not healthy in the long run. It will hurt more people if you constantly go over your own boundaries and hurt yourself and deplete yourself, because that when you talk about imbalance, that imbalance has a ripple effect
Hmm.
and it will set an imbalance to everybody around you off.
Right, and then also other people will feel it. And then it creates anger, and then it creates fights and misunderstandings and whatever. Like it can be anything. But also what I just thought about again was um, being open about it, how much that is goes back into the like healthy female energy and emotional depth. Because and it's probably also something for HSPs that is very relevant. Superficial stuff doesn't really work good. Like it's at least for me, like I really need people around me that I can have those open conversations with, those really deep conversations, that I feel comfortable with talking about anything. Like I'm not interested in people that act like everything is perfect always, right? Like my perfect house, my perfect family, my perfect whatever have you. And for me, it's such a strength in someone that can open up to me as well and be like super honest about things that are not always going well. Like just having being there for each other. That's how I think relationships thrive, friendships thrive. When you build that trust and really can talk about anything, the uncomfortable stuff, the ugly stuff, as well as the good. But the superficial, I would probably say that would be also a sign of like an imbalance of not being able to be emotionally, deep, like
Mm-hmm.
having this energy of, hey, I can, you can have those chats with me,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a match, if you get along with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a safety mechanism. So it's either the I don't trust enough to even be vulnerable to anyone, or also the fear to let myself have these deep emotions and these deep experiences that are just, like you said, totally in a different world than the small talk stuff that we talk about, right? Can I even have that if I don't let myself having that? If I want to live in that superficial, shallow, 2-inch deep water all the time, right? But I don't want to dive into the ocean. Um, and it's scary. It is scary. Both scenarios are scary. It's scary to have those emotions and those experiences, and it's scary sometimes to talk about them, right? But I don't know. I couldn't live without these deeply nourishing conversations
Mm-hmm.
where I share that inner depth. And I now am at the point where I share sometimes with people that I know that are not there, but I'm like, I'm going to plant a seed. I'm going to tell this person about this newest thing that I experienced and that newest thing that I learned about, and that's completely out of their realm of things that they usually surround them with, and I just see where it goes.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think also that's something that comes like with like getting wiser and having those qualities come in more and more, and celebrating that really. Because when I think of, my 20s compared to now, I've made a big jump as well and learned so much about those things like friendships, all those things. So yeah, mastering that to really know what you want and what you don't want is very nice.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And if you're struggling with that, what you don't want is so much easier to find than what you want sometimes. Surely not for everybody, but when you know, or when you struggle with finding on, like, what do I want actually? I don't know. And I have that struggle still to this day. I start a whole list with what I don't want, and that narrows it down so much that I get closer and closer to what I want, even though that what I want not quite pinpoint it yet, but I get an idea can be very scary. And I realize, are you sure that's what you want? But then I look at what I don't want. It's like, well, I mean, there's nothing left. That is what you want, but it's so scary. And then being okay with, mm, well, time to manifest it, no matter how scary it is. Because sometimes it's something that's maybe outside of your comfort zone.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, how many times we talked about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that actually gets me to back to your balance subject. We can talk about how, because that is like that feminine energy to maybe like dream it up and get to that and sit with this and sit in thought and manifesting prayer or whatever you want to call it. And then that action now needs to come in, right? And if you don't have that young energy of that action step, you're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get stuff done. You don't get stuff done. Yeah, you need to have that. Yeah, and then also no, I think especially for women, work with your cycle. There are times in your cycle where it's more favorable to be on the more active side of things, and then there's times we all know which times intuitively. There's times you just need more rest, and then just use things that you want to do in those rest phases, and vice versa with action pack. Like it goes from working out, or like getting things done, having like a plan of when do I do what. Also, like maybe in your course, like household or whatever, try to plan around. I know it's unrealistic to do that with everything. You have kids, you have birthday parties and all that kind of stuff, but then
Mhm.
be also open with your partner, or if you don't have a partner and you do it all by yourself, maybe you have a good friend, or depending on your child's age, when they have the right age, you can communicate with them really well as well about that. Like, I just this is a lot. I just need a little bit of help. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help,
Yeah.
and to really honor those rhythms of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think that goes into just respecting your body and respecting that um you know that female, how we are just synced with, well, I mean, we used to be synced with the moon and all those things, and most people don't even know that, right? um but since I started to respect what physically my body does, because it is just what it is, and almost celebrating it, because again, we don't do that. We condemn everything. We condemn the period. We condemn the menopause. We condemn all of this. It's just horrible. It's just,
Aging.
yeah, it's everything is horrible, right? Um, when you start celebrating it and looking at it from another perspective of how wonderful and why it's there and what it can do, and all these, I'm learning so much right now about the biology, about just what these little things are doing in our bodies. To It's such a intricate machine that is just really perfectly set up in its, obviously in its absolute original form. There's always stuff that changes and everybody is unique. um but since I celebrated and respected, guess what? All those things turn into positive things. They're not negative anymore. There's no more negative periods, and there's no more menopause symptoms. I know it sounds crazy, but it really just, the mind shift alone has so much power. But we live in a world where all of this information is fed to you about, no, no, this is all bad. This is all bad. This is all bad. And um, that is another thing that just kills that feminine energy, because we loathe our own bodies so much now that, I mean, how can you have self-worth, and how can you have self-love when everything is just bad? And take this pill, and oh, we're going to cut out this organ so it doesn't bother you anymore. And it's like, you know again, there's always medical necessities for everything, but it's so normalized.
Yeah.
It makes me very sad.
Totally, especially, you know, what you already mentioned, like periods. They shouldn't be painful. Like it already means there is an imbalance if you have very painful periods. Or same with menopause. Like this, you know, thinking like that women have to think, oh, well, now I am this old and now I just be miserable for a while. No, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So, yeah, we're very conditioned, very, very conditioned.
Yeah. I want you to go in the Amazon or Africa to one of those very few tribes that we have left that are really shielded from the outside world, where they do so many studies on them because this is the perfect original human right there, right? Without all these influences. And I want you to go there and I want you to ask a woman who's 47 years old and ask her, so do you suffer from menopause?
Yeah,
She's probably going to be like, the what?
yeah,
What? No, because in most tribes, women are celebrated when they become that age because now they're wise and they are in a different stage of life because now they're not the creator of life anymore. Now they're the wise woman. They switch almost like, oh, here's your promotion kind of. And it's celebrated in a very positive way. And here it is not. Here it's like, oh, you're garbage now. What are we going to do with you? You're old. You're not pretty anymore and you're whatever. Um, no, no, this is when midlife for a woman is freaking amazing. It's when all the F's goes out the window, that self-love can really foster actually. The boundaries are better because you just care more for yourself and you respect yourself more than all of the other people around you that maybe even people that don't matter so much because they're not your immediate family or friends or whatever. And it's glorious. It is glorious. There is a saying from Brene Brown. Do you remember it? Where she says, midlife is when the universe whispers in a woman's ear and says, it's time. When it's like, this is not a drill anymore. Like, let's go. Now this is the real stuff starting. And I love that. Yes, this is when it all unfolds. And it's so sad that we're not looking at this anymore as this beautiful thing. And there's a movement I can see on social media. Maybe it's just me because of the algorithm. I don't know. But I feel like there's more of that movement coming around with people being like, women being more, um, out there when they are in their 50s and they are still very enjoying life very much and they share their wisdom with the world and they are not constantly, oh yeah, menopause, it's over.
yeah,
It's a minority still, unfortunately, but it's there and they're getting louder and I'm very proud of all of these women who are doing.
yeah, absolutely. And there's a few YouTube channels actually I follow where there's very wise women, beautiful, gorgeous women that also aged gracefully. That have so I mean their channels are all about, yeah, like their wisdom. you know or also I mean the beauty industry, for sure it can be very, very toxic for a woman, for especially young women. Beauty standards and plastic surgery is amazing for, right, traumatic stuff, accidents, whatever, but there's, I mean, we all can agree that there's a tremendous overuse. And I do see it though that there is also change, like best agers, right? Like you now on runways and all that, you see mature women.
Hmm.
You see all types of different people in general, and I like that because it used to not be that way at all. So there is change coming in, and yeah, celebrating that. I absolutely loved it. I have to say, that's just my opinion, but the most beautiful, mature women I have ever seen in my life, they did not have anything done to them. Like I loved how their faces looked, and because you saw, we talked about this so many times before as well, like
Hmm.
just their mimic and their beauty. Um, that your face represents so much of yourself. Like that's the first thing you look at, right? Like you look someone in the eyes and everything, like you just want to see that person fully. And those women always were supernatural, but like took like well groomed, that's also one thing. Like as a woman, to groom yourself, it's also like ritualistic. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean you have to mask yourself at all, but like taking care of your skin, feeling yourself, taking care of your hair, your nails. But I mean, I don't have any fake nails, and it's fine. Like it doesn't have to be this extreme,
Right.
which a lot of women, I feel like they feel like it has to. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to. Like just yeah, and those women, they also had like, I love it when they wear their beautiful gray hair, and it's just, I mean, most gorgeous women I've seen have
Yeah.
nothing done. And I love that so much, because it sometimes seems like it's rare to see that,
Hmm.
you know
Yeah. I go through phases. There's going to be a phase where it's, I take care of my hands and I maybe put some like nail polish on or whatnot. I've even had phases where I wanted the fake nails and I went and got gel or whatnot. And then the next phase, like the phase I am right now, it's little stubbies. I do not take care of myself because the gardening's way more important. My hands are in the dirt all the time. So it's like, whatever. And that's okay too, right? Those are both, I feel like, kind of like a fun thing to do. And gardening can be a self-care, and then going to the nail salon can also be a self-care. But it's the time you invest in you, I feel like, and you are creating something just in a very different manner. Um, which gets me to the next point that we were talking about, how, and I agree with you, when someone is all natural, I can see life on their face and how they lived life and how they love life. But again, whatever floats your boat. Um, I think it's very attractive actually when I see, and maybe I'm saying this because I have them myself. I don't know.
no, I
But
agree. I agree. I love it. For me, there's other things that, make a person so beautiful. It's not like how do you say it, that like wrinkle free their skin is. Not at all. For me, it's like, are they funny? Do they make me laugh?
mhm.
Can I have really good conversations with them? Like, how do they carry themselves? um that's where it really comes in for me. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think people underestimate nowadays, and I say people because that goes to everybody. We underestimate the appearance of a person in real life because we are so much on our devices and we are so 2D. We see pictures and videos maybe, which a video already that's an upgrade because now you can see facial expression, you can hear a voice. But when you see someone in real life, the way they move, the way they smell, the way they sound in real life, the way they talk to you, their energy coming off of
Mm.
them. It's the whole package, and that's what makes a person a person. You cannot shave off all of these things and then say that's still a person. It's not the same. And we don't have enough of that real interaction. I have a friend who is in a same-sex relationship, and when I saw this is we known each other for such a long time. When I first saw a picture of her, I thought, "Oh, she's she looks very masculine." And then I met her in real life and I thought, "Wow, was I wrong? She is so feminine. Short hair, but the way she moves, the way she talks, she has the most beautiful melodic voice ever. She sounds almost like she's singing. She smells like her natural smell is so warm, so almost like vanilla undertones in there. And that's without any perfume or anything, right? The way she sits, the way she smiles at you when she talks, and that positive energy radiating from her. She is a very, very feminine woman, right? But in her relationships, she is more sitting in her yang energy because, again, she has same sex relationships and she is the one who's super fit, super, like, I mean, really so athletic, does the craziest competitions, a doer, right? Can build stuff out of pallets all the time and paints and does all these things. But that's also, a doer, but also a creator, creating things. Very rational thinking too. But again, never in my life would I say this is a masculine woman. So it's just there is a person who is to me like the epiphany of a balance, right? There's a
Sounds
balance.
like it for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Also, in general, like one word that comes to mind from for me talking about all of this is being authentic, right? That's really, really the key. Like be your authentic self. Um, there's no other you. There's no other you.
Yeah,
And
and I
so
think
many people try to be someone else.
yeah, yeah, to please everybody. Those things we're talking about, I feel like obviously they're all connected, right? So when you have self-respect and self-worth, you're more authentically you, then you have that energy, that aura around you, and then it's always this like ripple effect and how it comes back to you too, the whole karma thing. It's a cycle. So what would you say as not that it's really a practical tip, but more of advice maybe how to if someone listens to this and a woman says or a man says, how can I be more in that energy? How can I be, maybe for women, um I feel like I'm not letting my feminine energy take hold of me. I feel like I'm rejecting it or whatnot, and I would like to dip more into it. What would you say is a good starting point?
Like I said, I mean, there's so many things that you can do. Like for sure, I would say a big thing is really connect with nature because that grounds you and it makes you think and try to have awareness of like your intuition, from your gut with making decisions instead of just the logic side. Like if you feel like you have an imbalance in your female, that's what that would be, and then vice versa for male. Like male energies are more like logic, rational, all those things. So um, yeah, and also if you thrive on nurturing someone, or if you just haven't experienced it, maybe you try and see how that feels. Like how does it feel to nurture? And it doesn't always have to be people. Like
Mm-hmm.
it can also be like you mentioned, gardening, nurturing plants, nurturing your home. You are your home. Like if our environment is cozy and we feel comfortable and we make a home, that's a very female thing, like to decorate or to have everything in a good flow. So play with that a little bit, take time off if needed, like really take self-care rituals, take a hot bath. Water is female, water energy is female. So light a candle, or like watch a chick flick or rom-com or whatever you want to call it, just to get into more the female energy.
Mm-hmm.
Call a
Mm-hmm.
friend, have a conversation, um, listen to them, be there for them, give advice, those type of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love the go into nature thing too, because like you said, or whatever that is, mountains, gardening, forest, beach, there's whatever you have around you. It's brings
Especially
you.
barefoot. Try to do it barefoot because grounding is a real thing. Yeah, and sunshine. There's the health coach coming out again.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
where
yeah.
I would start. But I like, again, like just having that awareness, researching it. If you get curious, research it. And then take it step by step, what feels good for you. Like, of course, there's not everything doesn't work for everybody, so you have to find what resonates with you.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it just brings you back to your original state
Hmm.
almost, where you can peel off those layers of society that they brought on you. And the funny thing is, I know that you made notes and I made notes for this, and we made notes for ourselves separately, but it all overlaps because as soon as you were talking, like, yeah, I agree with that. That's what I wanted to say. um, because my advice, and that is for females and males, because and that's advice I think that goes to pretty much any question of the year. It doesn't matter what question you're going to ask me, is sit with yourself. I think that's really a problem in our society that people do not spend time with themselves.
Yeah.
You need to know yourself. You need to get to know yourself. And the beautiful thing is when you're with yourself and nobody is there, you don't have to answer to anyone. You don't have to be anyone but yourself because nobody's judging you. Don't judge yourself. You can just be authentically you and get to know you. Sit in quiet, or like you said, go be in nature with yourself. That you need to get in touch with who you actually are so you can also find out in what energy do I feel home and what energy do I feel good. Um, and that will help the boundaries. That will also help you figure out what feeds your jing. That's the next part. If you have a job or you do something every single day that you absolutely loathe and hate, that's going to kill your jing. This will make sure that you're not in touch with anything about yourself anymore. Um, and that's where you see if you can change that, or if you absolutely cannot change that situation, can you have a hobby that offsets that is so where you're so passionate about, that gives you so much love and joy that it offsets that dreading of 8 hours a day. Um, and like what you said, create, create. And I know when I heard that at first, I was like, oh, I'm not, I don't want to craft. What that doesn't have to be crafty.
Yeah.
Someone can say you can go work out, and that's a creation of strength. You can cook a meal. You just created something out of ingredients. You can do anything and create something. Puzzling, you're creating something.
Hmm.
Try to find something that is a creation that would not have been without you, and then see how that feels. I think that's a beautiful, small, gentle gateway into that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It really fits for everybody too. Like, it's not
Hmm.
just about male, female. It's also for the single mom we talked about a little bit, or same-sex couples or whatever. Um, just really be mindful of those balances. What do you want to represent and what not? Or is there anything in the field that is toxic behavior, like signs of toxic behavior? um, and then balance that out, or try to help someone where you see that, where, like, aggressiveness, for example.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, um, and also, I think it's important too to have healthy views of male and female. Like, as a woman, think about it. What is your picture of men these days in society? Is this something that you might have been manipulated with to have, like, the wrong picture of men?
Hmm.
And vice versa with women, right? Like, what for a guy is, like, what for you is feminine, the feminines in our world. Like, so having that awareness as well of how much conditioning maybe has been at play.
Hmm.
Because I see this a lot, that a lot of women think, oh man, they're all so evil and they're all aggressive and they're always doing bad stuff. And yes, there is bad men and women in our world. It's just part of our
Yeah.
experience. But that doesn't mean that it has to be your experience. So there's most people are good. Like the vast majority of people are good. Like the how do you say it? Like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of that not allowing this to come in to your world. That's a real thing. So
Mm-hmm.
so you then a lot of people I believe attract that. They attract the manipulative girl, the drama queen, or the guys, or the women attract that, the domestic violence kind of guy, because I think they don't really believe in that there's something else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be that way. It doesn't, of course, it doesn't mean like that all women that experience domestic abuse, right?
Right.
But you know what I mean? It's just really knowing again what you want, what is really out there, and you can totally um, ask for that.
Yeah. Believe in it, let it in.
Hmm.
Mm.
Don't
And
settle
it,
for less.
yeah. And what you just said is a beautiful statement for today. I think most people are good.
Mm.
We're surrounded by good people. And just because we only always see the bad stuff when we turn on the TV or social media or whatnot, it doesn't mean that there's only evil in the world. So, very important.
Yes, very, very important. I mean, it's by design. Just sounds better to yeah, it's by design.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just like we feed into the stigmas of what's a female and what's a male, right? We feed into that is being fed to us too, that we're all doomed. We're not. We're not.
No.
Uh, this was fantastic, and I think another deep dive so wonderfully to our part one about this. It's a big subject, a very big subject. We could probably fill 4 more hours with this easily.
Yes,
But yeah, and how beautiful. I wanted to mention that we talk about the feminine energy today with this beautiful strawberry full moon,
I
right?
know.
Yeah, because that's when we're recording this, and the moon is supposed to represent the yin energy. So yeah, it's peaking today.
Yes, and talking about that earlier, the synchronicity of the cycle of of a woman and the moon phases. I mean, there are 13 moons, and a woman goes through 13 cycles during
Hmm.
a year. Also, like, I mean, it makes me wonder with the calendar, how is this like screwing us over a little bit? Like, it's very interesting. There's so many things when you really dive deep into it. The distortions that have been created, maybe on purpose, maybe not, but um, there's just a lot of things that seem like they want to keep us out of balance.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
for
that
everyone else to decide what they think. But
yeah,
yeah, makes me
yeah,
wonder.
yeah, yeah. Well, if I throw you out of balance, you're easier to manipulate, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
yep.
Ooh, we're getting somewhere else.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to a crystal bowl meditation tonight to celebrate the full moon. Yep. And
Amazing.
I hope you have a fantastic day, Annika. Thank you so much for coming on the show again and sharing your wisdom and your insights with us and the listeners. And it's been a pleasure.
Same here. Thank you so much.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed. You can give it a thumbs up, you can give it a review, you can share it with somebody you think might resonate with this. Have a great day. See you next time.